Good morning, y'all. This is Ned over at myphilippinedreams.com, and we are down at the waterfront near where we live, not too far away. I just wanted to revisit and go over a few things. Last week I put up a couple videos on Amor Propio, trying to come to some understanding of where it fits into Filipino culture, Filipino psychology. And the reason I put it up is because as foreigners coming to live, and again, a lot of us are here to live, not just to visit, it's important for us to try to understand these things, to make our lives better, to make their lives better, just to make everything better and easier to understand, to have things move more fluidly and smoothly. I talked about some of the negative things that can come out of Amor Propio, and I just wanted to make sure that I didn't give people the impression that it's all negative. Amor Propio is basically based on all the core qualities that make up a responsible, decent human being. We're talking things about respect, we're talking things about honor, we're talking honesty, trustworthiness, we're talking selflessness and altruism, we're talking duty to family, to friends, again, to making our life as good as it can be so we can affect other people's lives around us in a positive way. So Amor Propio is based on a lot of very positive things. Also, he had a shame, the not being able to fulfill that obligation or that desire to be the best person that you can be. Some of it stems from that also, and that's something we have to keep in mind. So I didn't want to give the impression that Amor Propio is all negative things or that Hiya is all negative things, but it can help us to sort of understand why things happen the way they do around here. It can make our lives easier. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was I mentioned that there was a police massacre in Mindanao yesterday, and I said that I wasn't going to be traveling there anytime soon, and that elicited a bit of some concern, or some people said, hey, you shouldn't be saying that. Davao is a very safe city, and I agree, Davao is a safe city. The problem is getting to Davao. The roads, the highways that sometimes you have to take can be going through some of these areas where some of these bad things occur. And also, don't forget, this was about 100 miles, about 20 minutes plane flight from the city of Davao, where this police massacre occurred yesterday. And that site is also the location of where that massacre occurred back in 2009, where 56 people were killed, most of them journalists. Also, NPA attacked a police outpost not too far from Davao. I believe it was about an hour outside of the city, and this was back last year in May. So again, some bad things can happen. I just don't want to get myself in. I mean, I got plans for myself. I want to, get married, have a family, have a house and white picket fence if they have white picket fences here. So I don't want to put myself in a position where some bad things can happen. But again, Davao is safe if you're flying into Davao. They have a mayor over there, I believe his name is Duarte, and he kind of takes things into his own hands. There's not much of a judicial process there sometimes, and the criminals know that he's basically gunning for them, literally. So yeah, crime, when Duarte came in, there was a lot of crime down in Davao, but he's basically cleaned up the city. He's kind of like Buford T. Pusser, or Walking Tall, the guy with the big stick there, except he doesn't have a stick, he's got his heavily armed security forces. So I didn't want to give the impression that I was saying all of Mindanao was unsafe, because that's absolutely not true. There are certain sections of it that are not safe. Also, these opportunistic kidnappings, I believe, in my humble opinion, it's not for political or theological purposes, it's more for monetary purposes. If you notice that when these people get kidnapped, there's usually a huge ransom associated with it. We just had that with the 2 Germans that were successfully ransomed because they were getting ready to be executed. So I think a lot of that comes from monetary gain, and that could probably occur anywhere. I mean, if you're at an island and there's some bad elements and there's some bad guys that want to make some money, and they see a foreigner, you know, Econo, because we're all rich and we all have money trees back in the States, you know, they might see you as a target. So again, I don't want to give the impression that two things, that Mindanao is unsafe, because parts of it are very safe, and I also don't want to give the impression that Amor Propio is this negative, terrible thing, because it's not. It instills all the core values. It's kind of like the Boy Scout motto there. I pledge to be honest, clean, trustworthy, brave, clean, reverent, all that stuff. I forgot how it goes. It's been a long time. So again, it embodies a lot of positive aspects. And it's not all negative. But sometimes there's some negative things can happen. Again, like asking for directions. If they don't know, they don't want to admit that because, you know, that would be shameful that they don't know. So that's it. This is my quick update. It's a little fallback. Also, a lot of people are really getting into some heated discussions and heated arguments down at in the comment section to the Amor Propio. And that's all cool. I'm not Filipino, so I'm not going to get involved in that discussion. I'm just trying to figure it out. So I'll leave that to Roland and all those other guys. Just don't get too carried away, guys. I know when it comes to pride and, you know, trying to figure this stuff out, people got some really strong feelings, and that is quite apparent. So that's about it. This is Ned over at myphilippinedreams.com, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Hey y'all, there's one last thing I forgot to mention when I did the wrap-up on Amor Propio this morning. I see in the comments section on a previous video that somebody said, wow, for her to be with that ugly old expat, she must be really desperate. That's one way of looking at it. You can, you know, look down your nose at it and snort in disdain and whatnot, but also think about this. Think about these qualities: duty, loyalty, dedication, and most of all, think of sense of personal sacrifice. So instead of looking at it as something negative, you can look at it as something worthy of admiration. Somebody who's willing to get into a long-term relationship with an admittedly much older, much uglier, much more wrinkly foreigner, not to make her life better, but to make her family's life better. Something to think about. It's Ned over My Philippine Dreams. See you next time.